Hi everyone, my name is Tony Xavier, Chief Learning Officer of IMS and the author of the book Build the CAT, Your Friend, Philosopher and Guide for CAT Prep. These are a series of companion videos I'm doing, and this is the first video in the series of test-taking strategy videos. Right? So CAT, why is it more of a test of strategy and not of competence? And what are the numbers that you should know? At any point of time, I wake you up in the middle of the night. What are a couple of numbers in terms of scores and percentiles that you should always for the test, and what's the mindset that you need to take? So this short video is on that. What does it take to make it to the premier B schools into the country? IIMs, SPJ, MDI, all the other big schools in the country. What does it take? Solve 1/3 or half of the CAT paper correctly. That's it. Now, when you look at people like me or a lot of my successful colleagues who take the CAT over a period of time, one thing we know is that irrespective of the change in the paper, number of questions, time limit and everything, some metrics have always remained the same. In fact, it didn't change when I took the test more than 20 years ago also. Right? The fact that you answer half the paper correctly will get you at least a couple of calls from the IIMs. Right, a call from a couple of the IIMs, right? And call now that the number of IIMs have also increased, right? And there are many more good colleges. Solve 1/3 of the paper, and you're in contention to get a interview call with one of the premier B schools in the country, right? So this number hasn't changed. So let me show you the data. This is a rule of thumb for me, but you can look at the data, right? What are the scores versus percentiles? Look at the last 4 years. We can go as far as possible if we want with this, right? Look at 95 percentile. But 95 percentile, you'll get at least one call from a good B school, right? So a call from at least one B school. Look at this. How much is it? 72 marks, 60 marks, some as low as 45 also in 2023, and it goes up to 70 as well. So whatever the total, it has always been roughly 1/3. That's the rule of thumb. And what about 99? Right, where you'll definitely get at least a couple of calls from the old B schools, give and take a few things here and there with respect to profile, right? What is it? This is always at 50%, right? So 198, almost exactly 99, it's 97, 198, 84, 198, 77, 204, 96. It's not even 50%, it's just a tad under 50%, right? So that is what this paper is. To get 100, yeah, at this thing, but anyway, only 10 people get 100, and you don't need 100 to get 100 to get a call. Anyway, you can get it for lower than that, right? So this is the thumb rule. So these are the numbers. So at any point of time, for any section also, you need to know that roughly these rules apply, right? 1/3, and you're doing absolutely, fantastic of the marks. So that's what you do in terms of clearing the cutoff, right? So with the section, overall, 1/3 of the paper will give you 95, and about 50% will give you a 99. Let's go ahead. What does it take to make it to the premier B schools in the country? Now that we've done this, so what does this mean? That you have to only get half the paper correct? It means that this is a test of strategy and not competence. It's strategy first, competence next. Why do I say this? Suppose I have to take a test like the GMAT. One thing I know for sure is now they've allowed going back and forth between questions, but I cannot skip any question. I have to mark an answer, which means that I have to prove to the test my competence on that particular question, even though it's adaptive and everything. I have to show, can I solve this question or not? That's what's been tested, right? So there is no strategy that I can use, right? In terms of gaming, I wouldn't say gaming is the wrong word, but in terms of managing the test, right? But in CAT, if I have to leave half the paper and I have to get only half the paper correct, then strategy becomes completely the most important thing. What you have to do is not just, develop competence to solve different questions, but develop the skill to figure out which question to solve, right? Which is why I feel that to get into a premier B school in the future and become a CEO in the future, you have to think like a CEO now. Because what does a CEO do? A CEO is supposed to make the strategy, right? A CEO is the one, he is not a worker, he is not a mid-level manager, she is not a CEO, is not somebody who is going to do the related work, she is going to decide the strategy of the company, right? So for you, for this CAT exam, you are the CEO, You are the manager and you are the laborer also. But the most important hat that you have to wear is that of the CEO. What does a CEO of a firm do? CEO decides where, how, and when to invest money to maximize revenue, right? Where do I put my money on? Where do I take my bets, right? What do you as CEO of your CAT exam do? Decide where, when, and how to invest your time to maximize your marks, right? So there it's money for revenue, here it is time for marks, right? So you need not just be a CEO, you can think of yourself as an investor with lots of money, right? And you're going to a startup or a startup or a B plan contest, and you have a lot of youngsters pitching their idea, right? Your task would be to decide on which one to put the money, right? Making those right calls. So this is exactly what you're doing here. Right? So as CEO of your CAT exam, you decide where. This is the selection strategy. You decide when. So yes, I need to solve this. I need to know X number of questions here, but when do I give my time for that? And how is the technique, right? I have decided to solve RC. Now, what is the right technique to solve RC? I've decided to solve missing sequence, sentence, and sequence first. What is the technique to solve that? The how we have covered in all the other videos in these series of videos. So the ones that follow it, one for VARC, one for DILR, and one for QA. We will look at the where and the when, the selection strategy and the time allocation, right? For every section, you will write on a specific selection strategy for RC, DILR, and QA. We'll take one CAT paper of a recent vintage. We'll take a section and execute the selection strategy so that, in this paper, this was the difficulty of this paper. Because you did the selection, you'll come to know, and what is the order in which you should have attempted and how you should have divided your time, right? So get a clear time allocation, attempts, and store targets for different percentile goals. You'll get that result, right? So that's what we are going to do today in these series of test taking strategies videos. Yeah. So get ready to think like a CEO. Thank you.